One of the hardest parts of midlife reinvention is something almost nobody talks about. It's loneliness. Not physical isolation, not necessarily being alone, but it's a strange feeling that the person you're becoming no longer fits the life that you've built before. It's the feeling of sitting in a room full of people you love, and still feeling disconnected. It's the feeling of having conversations you've had for years, but somehow feeling like you're speaking a different language now. It's the feeling of realizing you're changing, growing, you're questioning things, and not knowing who to talk to about it. If you're experiencing that, you're not alone. In fact, it may be one of the most common experiences people go through when they begin reinventing themselves in their life. So today, I want to talk about why this happens, why it feels so uncomfortable, why it can make you question yourself, and why loneliness during reinvention is often a sign that growth is already happening. One thing that surprises many people about reinvention is that it rarely starts with visible changes. Most people imagine reinvention as quitting a job, starting a business, moving to a new city, getting healthier, or launching a new chapter. But long before any of that happens, something shifts internally. You begin asking questions, questions you may have ignored for years. Questions like, is this really what I want? Is this the life I envisioned for myself? What do I want the next 20 years to look like? Am I still growing? These questions often arrive quietly, sometimes after a milestone birthday, sometimes after children have left the home to build their own lives, sometimes after a health scare, sometimes after a divorce, a job loss, or any major life event. And sometimes they arrive for no obvious reason at all. You simply wake up one day and realize that something feels different. The problem is that while you're experiencing this internal shift, everyone around you sees the version of you that they've always known. Your family sees the same person. Your friends see the same person. Your coworkers see the same person. But inside, something is changing. And that creates a kind of gap, a gap between who you've been and who you are becoming, a gap between what others see and what you're beginning to discover. That gap can feel incredibly lonely because you're carrying thoughts and emotions that are different and they're difficult to explain. You don't even fully understand them yourself yet. That's the reality of it. You know something needs to change. You just don't know exactly what needs to change. See, and that uncertainty can make you feel isolated. Another reason reinvention feels lonely is because most people evolve quietly. It's not this big hurrah. Before someone starts a business, they usually spend months thinking about it. Months. Before someone changes careers, they've often wrestled with the idea privately for years. Before someone transforms their life, they often go through a long period of internal struggle that nobody else really sees. So we tend to see people's breakthroughs. We rarely see their transition. We see the announcement. We don't see the years of questions beforehand. And because of that, many people assume they're the only ones that are struggling. They look around and think everyone else seems to know what they're doing. Everyone else seems to be so confident. Everyone else seems to be so certain. But often that's not true at all. We see this all over social media. Everyone seems to be spot on. You see only the best things about them. But many people are carrying the exact same questions. That's the truth. They're just carrying them quietly. One of the loneliest moments in reinvention is when you've outgrown your old thinking, but haven't fully stepped into your new life yet. It's a sort of limbo. You're standing between two versions of yourself, the old version that no longer fits, and the new version that hasn't fully come out or emerged. It's like standing on a bridge between two chapters. You can't go back, but you can't fully see the road ahead either. And bridges can feel lonely because they're transitional spaces. They're not where you're coming from, they're not where you're going to, they're simply where you are right now. Okay? Many people notice something unexpected during reinvention. Conversations start changing. Topics that once interested them no longer holds their attention. The things they used to complain about even seem less important. The goals they once chased don't feel as meaningful. I am speaking from experience when I talk about this stuff. Again, this doesn't mean you've become better than anyone. It doesn't mean you've outgrown people. It simply means your awareness has shifted. Now imagine someone who begins focusing on personal growth. They start thinking different. That's natural. They become more reflective, more intentional, more curious. They start asking bigger questions. Meanwhile, the people around them may still be discussing the same topics they've always discussed. There's nothing wrong with that. But the disconnect can feel real. You may find yourself wanting deeper conversations, something more meaningful discussions, more honesty, more purpose. And when those conversations aren't available in the current environment you're in, that's when loneliness can creep in. You begin wondering, why don't I feel connected like I used to? The answer may not be that you've lost connection. The answer may be that you're searching for a different kind of connection, a connection based on where you're going rather than where you've been. And that can take time. Definitely can take time for you to find. Now, one of the deepest forms of loneliness isn't being alone. It's feeling misunderstood. Many people in midlife, they hesitate to talk openly about their desire for change. They're afraid others won't understand. Maybe they have a stable career. Maybe they have a comfortable life. Maybe from the outside, everything looks fine. So when they say they feel called towards something different, people often respond with confusion. Why would you change now? You should be grateful for what you have, and that's it. Most people would love to have what you have. And while those comments are often well intentioned, they can make someone feel even more isolated, hurt even. Because gratitude and growth can coexist together. They can. You can appreciate your life and still desire change. You can be thankful and still want more alignment, something bigger. You can love parts of your life and still know that something needs to evolve or grow. Those ideas, they don't contradict each other, but not everyone understands that, which is why many people keep their dreams to themselves. They keep their questions private, and the more they hide what they're experiencing, the lonelier they often feel. I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience. I've learned all this, and I know that I'm not the only one that's experienced this, but so many of you out there have also experienced this and are experiencing it right now. It's resonating what I'm saying. Now, here's the part that nobody likes to hear. This stage may actually be necessary. Growth often requires separation before connection, from what I learned. Think about any major life transition you've been through: starting college, changing careers, moving to a new city, becoming a parent, getting married, retiring. Every major transition involves a period where the old identity falls away before the new identity feels natural. Midlife reinvention is no different than that. You're releasing old assumptions, old beliefs, old definitions of success, old expectations. And before new ones can fully take root, there's often an uncomfortable period of uncertainty. This isn't evidence that you're lost, it's evidence that you're changing. The disconnect is not proof that something's wrong with you or something wrong is happening. It's proof that something is happening. See, growth rarely feels comfortable while it's occurring. You remember when we were younger, kids, you get aches in your bones, growing pains, they call them. Your bones are growing, they ache. Growth often feels uncomfortable. It's always been that way. We tend to appreciate growth after we've gone through it, not during it. Because during it, it feels uncomfortable. It feels messy, confusing, lonely, uncertain, right? So the good news is that this phase does not last forever. As you continue moving forward, something very interesting begins to happen. you start finding people who understand. Maybe it's through a community, of course, maybe a coaching program, a social media connection, maybe a networking group or a local meetup, a conversation you almost didn't have. Suddenly, you meet someone who says exactly what you've been thinking, and you realize I'm not the only one. That realization can be incredibly powerful because reinvention isn't about leaving everyone behind. It's not. It's about expanding your circle to include people that are more aligned with the person you're becoming. You don't need hundreds of people for this. In fact, I don't think you want hundreds of people. Sometimes you only need a few people who understand the journey you're on, a few people who understand the questions that you have, a few people who remind you that you're not crazy. You're not crazy for wanting something different. Those relationships often become the anchors during the periods of transformation that we go through. So if you're in this stage right now, here are a few things I want you to remember. First, don't assume loneliness means you're making the wrong decision. Sometimes loneliness simply means you're in transition. Second, don't rush to fill every uncomfortable moment with distractions. There is so much valuable insight inside that reflection. Some of the clarity you're looking for may actually come during those quiet moments. Third, seek connection intentionally. Don't wait for people to magically appear. Look for communities, groups, and conversations that align with your interests and goals. This may be hard for some people. I can be quite introverted. I don't naturally go after communities and groups and things of that nature. But opportunities do present themselves, and moments can be had in building certain relationships. And finally, be patient with yourself. Reinvention is not an overnight event. It's a process. It's a process of discovering who you are now, not who you were 20 years ago, not who others expect you to be, but who you truly want to become moving forward. If midlife reinvention feels lonely sometimes, you're not failing. You're not broken. I just need to keep saying this. You're certainly not alone. You are transitioning, you are evolving, you are moving between one chapter and the next. And transitions often feel unfamiliar before they feel aligned. The loneliness you're experiencing today may simply just be space between who you've been and who you're becoming. Keep moving forward. Keep asking questions. Keep trusting the process. Because eventually, the life that feels aligned starts to catch up with the person you've become. And when it does, you'll realize that this lonely season wasn't a detour. It was actually part of the journey. So if you're navigating your own midlife reinvention journey right now, make sure to subscribe. Every week I share practical guidance, honest conversations, just real world strategies to help you create more clarity, more confidence, more purpose in the second half of life. And if you'd like a structured place to start, you'll find a link below to my free midlife clarity resources. And if you're still wondering what's really required to create meaningful change after 40, I want you to watch the video that's appearing on the screen right now, the top left, the real secret to reinvention after 40. Because understanding that one principle can make the entire reinvention journey feel less overwhelming and much more achievable. So click that next video and I'll see you there.